We do have some poets online, but I'd like to begin tonight with a poem by Bill Earhart. Some of you may remember Bill is a Vietnam veteran who has spent many years working with both Vietnam veterans against the war and veterans for peace. He's a wonderful writer and a poet. I asked him if he would come tonight to read his poem, and he said he no longer takes airplanes, so he's not going to be here, and asked me if I would read it. So we'll begin tonight with the poem for this convention. How does one respond to such destruction with a poem? Can poetry outweigh 2,000-pound Mark 84 bomb, save the life of a single wounded child, put an end to the hatred and madness and inhumanity of those who do the butchery? Might just as well be piecing up a rope as thinking poetry. Can it matter when it really counts? There among the dead and dying, armless, legless, homeless, starving, families shattered, orphan children, misery without hope of ever ending. And here I sit in safety half a world away, my tax dollars buying bombs. My government supplies those who do the killing. How can one be silent in the face of such ignoble cruelty? How can one just turn away as if I weren't responsible, as if I didn't care? I suppose I could refuse to pay my taxes, get myself arrested during civil disobedience in front of Independence Hall, write letters to my representatives in Congress. But we've done all that, and for more than half a century, and yet the killing just goes on. One finds it hard, indeed impossible, to dodge concluding that humanity is, taken on the whole, just inhumane, stark raving mad, beyond redemption. I'd like to think I'm wrong, but this poem is all the evidence I have to offer. Thank you, Bill Earhart. And we will begin the virtual part of the program with Doug Rawlings. We're so sorry that Doug couldn't join us here in person tonight, but we do have him virtually, and he will begin the poetry section. Doug Rawlings.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. I'd like to read some poems from early on from this organization. It was why we even started Veterans for Peace. 5 of us were very concerned about Central America and what was happening in Nicaragua and El Salvador and Guatemala, and we just saw Vietnam being repeated over and over again. So this first poem I'm going to read is called In the American Vein. It's for Charlie Clemens. And Charlie was a pilot in Vietnam, flew a number of combat missions, and then he refused to fly over Cambodia. And so they had to do something with him, even though he was an amazing pilot and whatnot. So they did a catch-22 number on him. They put him in a psych ward. And after, I don't know after how many months he got out of that. And he eventually became a medical doctor. And then he went to work with the rebels in El Salvador. And he talks about being bombed by the very planes that he flew. And so this is for Charlie Clemens, and he was an early member of Veterans for Peace. He joined us very early on when we first started. So this is called In the American Vein for Charlie Clemens. El Salvador is not Vietnam, San Salvador is not Saigon, yet something seems to have slid away into the South China Sea. To be born again in El Salvador, seems something's down there dancing once again to the staccato rhythm of the M16 on rock and roll, to the shimmering whine of the 175s coming in low. Seems something's down there hungering for the American vein once again. Seems something's fixing to shoot up whatever youth it can find to do up major death. Not in Vietnam, not in Saigon, but in El Salvador and San Salvador. This trip around the melting clock, of America killing time. Here's another one about the 7th of America. Low intensity warfare. Up here, we're working up the Winter's Wood. Down below the Durangos, fruit section of our global IGA. Deep the crisp and clear, the leaves dyed beautifully in yellows and earth browns, blood reds.
It's from Doug Zane.
Call T-Mobile.
Down there, Willie Peter is, down there, the morning air smells of burning flesh. Up here, business is as usual. And Willie Peter, by the way, is a military term for white phosphorus. So we were also concerned about nuclear weapons when we started Veterans for Peace. And so seeing the amazing work of the Golden Rule. And they came here to Portland, Maine, by the way, and just did a terrific job. Here's a poem entitled Kristallnacht Revisited, the Night of Broken Crystal. Kristallnacht Revisited. Snug we'll be tucked away in our little techno ghettos for the night. When the mushroom clouds begin their march. And then how we will cower in our corners until a firestorm pounds down the doors, until we are torn loose by the black leather gloves of our calculated ignorance, until we are thrust headlong into the blast furnace exploding down the street where the corner store used to be. And I think of all the people in Germany in the 30s who kept on thinking, well, this fascism thing is going to go away pretty soon, it's not going to, and then Kristallnacht revisited. Here's a poem I wrote. I've been to Washington, D.C. a number of times to visit the wall. I went one time on Veterans Day with a guy I was in Nam with, this guy Don Ivan. And he was wearing his I'm a Vietnam hat on, and I was wearing my Veterans for Peace, I hate war.
AT&T.
Yeah, I don't know if you've been in DC on Veterans Day or not, but I mean, there were literally people wrapped in flags and thanking us for our service, right? So here's my poem called Walking the Wall, sung. Get ready, there's a profanity in here. So I do this Walking the Wall. My time in Vietnam started in early July of 1969, which is wall panel number West 21. And ended in early August 1970, which is panel West 7. So a walk of about 25 paces past the names of about 9,800 dead. I call this Walking the Wall. Got to tell you that you're making me nervous every time you thank me for my service. I know you're trying to be nice and kind, but you are really, truly fucking with my mind. Trust me, it's not that I really care what you think. You who had too much of their Kool-Aid to drink, trust me, you don't know shit about what service really means. You just need to know that nothing really is as it seems. So take a walk with me down the wall some late evening where we can all listen to the ghostly young soldiers keening. But don't waste your time thanking them for their service. They might just tell you the truth. All your wars are worthless. We end with one poem. This is called The Girl in the Picture. And it was written based on that very famous girl they call the Napalm Girl, right? Phan Kim Phuc, running out of the village, in Vietnam after having been napalmed. And so I wrote this poem called The Girl in the Picture, and I wrote it because this actually began as a suicide poem. I was, writing about suicide and stuff like that. But then I happened to read a magazine article, and I found out that Kim Phuc was 9 years old when that picture was taken. And at that very moment, my oldest granddaughter was 9 years old. And it just sort of flipped this poem for me. So here it is. It's called The Girl in the Picture, and it begins with this aphorism: whatever you run from becomes your shadow. Whatever you run from becomes your shadow. If you're a non-vet, a survivor of sorts, she'll come for you across the decades, casting a shadow in the dying light of your dreams, naked and nine, terror in her eyes. Of course, you'll have to ignore her if you wish to survive over the years, but then your daughters were till 9, and then your granddaughters, 9, as the shadows lengthen. So you'll have no choice on that one night, screaming down a rid road, lights off, under a full moon. She's standing in the middle of the road, still naked and 9, terror in her eyes. Now you must stop to pick her up, to carry her back home to where she came from, to that gentle village where the forgiving and the forgiven gather at high noon. There are no shadows. I had the honor of reading that poem at a conference in Hue City in 2023, which was put on by the Vietnamese people, and it was translated into Vietnamese by the director of the War Remnants Museum in Ho Chi Minh City. So, thank you very much. I believe, do I pass the to the next photo?
Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Doug.
Teresa May Chook, oh my gosh, what amazing poet who lives in Los Angeles. And she just recently wrote me a note, and this is an indication of what it's like corresponding with a poet. She said, you know, I'm living in this place of fire and ice, Los Angeles. Teresa May Chook, I came across her poetry. A copy of Peace and Planet News, you will see a poem in there by Teresa May Chook. She's now a high school teacher in Los Angeles. Her mom came over as a refugee from the Vietnam War. She's an amazing poet. Teresa.
Thank you so much, Susan. Thank you so much, Doug. It's always an honor to read with you. And thank you, Veterans for Peace, for all of the work that you do. You inspire me and really warms my heart and gives me strength and hope. As Doug mentioned, LA has started the new year with a lot of heaviness, and 2 major neighborhoods, Altadena and Palisades, burned up, and Altadena was my neighborhood. I'm grateful that I did not lose my home. I grew up in Pasadena, Altadena. I was Altadena Poet Laureate 2018 to 2020. But a lot of people I know, a lot of my friends lost their homes and lost everything. And then a few weeks ago, some day laborers who were waiting at a bus stop in Pasadena to be brought to Altadena to help rebuild the community were taken or kidnapped by ICE.
Whoa.
It was just heartbreak upon heartbreak. And this first poem I'm going to read is in Peace and Planet News. Thank you, Doug, Susan, Veterans for Peace, for publishing it. It's called Sonnet for the People. My mother told me when the Vietnamese government took father away at the fall of Saigon, she was pregnant with me. Father fought in the Southern Army that was under the United States control. Their strategy, divide and conquer us. We fled Vietnam in a refugee boat. In the sea, in heaven, we put our trust. My father was imprisoned for 9 years. Now flash forward, terror and ICE raids in our neighborhoods throughout Los Angeles. Street vendors who sell flowers and fruits being kidnapped by masked armed men in unmarked cars. Day laborers snatched from the Home Depot parking lots. To our streets were brought these wars, running for their lives, young children in tow. This is not new. Fascist U.S. empire, the state and the treatment of the people. Protests in peace while LAPD fires. On stolen land, no one is illegal. Neighbors taken away in handcuffs while Gaza is bombed and the people starved. Using our tax dollars, dead bodies pile. Genocide in history's stone being carved. Before our eyes, as we scroll, babies die. The concrete of a building that was bombed, body parts scattered as we live a lie. Everything depends on how we respond. U.S. Marines deployed to LA streets. The government threatened by how much we take care of one another. Our drum beats. We, the people, have the power to be. Here in LA, in Vietnam, in Gaza, around the world, solo el pueblo salva al pueblo, which means only the people can save the people. This next poem, I teach, as Doug mentioned, at a school in LA, middle and high school, and this poem I wrote right after Trump was elected in 2024. It's called Tres Hermanas, which means the three sisters. And in gardening, that's the corn, the bean, and the squash. After the 2024 presidential election, I started a school garden in LA and taught my students about seeds. My 6th and 7th graders choose seeds they want to plant on the first day our garden club meets. They scoop soil into small pots and plant their seeds. I teach my students they could take something so small, so freely given by the earth, and grow something that will sustain them. I teach my students to touch the earth with their hands, and that the return to the earth is power for them, their families, and their communities. I teach them to nurture, to water the pots where they planted seeds. I teach them how we need sunlight and rain. 2 weeks later, every seed planted by every student, snap peas, radish, Brussels sprouts, blue corn, honey melon, sprout into seedlings in the greenhouse. I teach my students that the future is still theirs. They plant their future working together with the earth and each other. Before winter break, we plant the corn plants grown from seeds, now 3 inches tall, into a growing bed. Put beans into the soil next to the corn. Propagate squash in small pots. My students learn about the Tres Hermanas, how we grow them together, how they help each other to survive like us. Is called After the American War, and it's about my father. After the American War, and after spending 9 years in a Viet Cong re-education camp away from his family, my father planted cilantro, coriander, ngori, yao mui, yao yam, Thai basil, hung gue, lemongrass, perilla, Theodore. He plants guava trees, grapefruit trees, dragon fruits that climb a delicate trellis he's built with old furniture, the fruit of fluorescent pink. My father's passion fruit vines cover my old bed frame from my bed when I was a child. The frame raised above the ground on the 4 corners so that I could crawl under and be surrounded by passion fruit and magical blossoms. My father's longing tree is full of sweet perfumed fruits that the neighborhood birds and I long for. Plants and trees from our Vietnamese homeland fill Beaumet's garden in East Pasadena. My father is healing from the American War, his hands holding the earth, his hands holding a branch he cut from which he will grow into a new tree. This is the side of my father I want to remember, and not the one who threw a knife at me when I was a child for using my left hand to write. not the one who chased me with an axe saying he was going to kill me, not the one overcome with trauma and loss of homeland and being separated from his family, not the father who endured prison for 9 years, not knowing if he would ever be released and see his family again, the one boiling with anger. My father picks the guavas from his garden for us to eat. Each fruit is delicious and grown with care. My father has never told me that he loves me, but he gathers the Vietnamese herbs he grew for the homemade pho he spent 2 days cooking for us. Another poem to Los Angeles, because I really feel it's been a summer of ICE raids and US military occupation. This poem is called Poem to Los Angeles after Marina Tsvetaeva. They took, quickly, they took, forcefully, took the street mender and the day laborer. They took our mother and our brother from us. Aunties they took also, and neighbors. They took the farm worker and they took the strawberry picker. They took the PhD student and took the professor. They took the patient and took the nurse. They took the books from us and took the words. Diversity they took and equity they took. They took family and friends, but worse than taking home on earth from us, they won the battle for our spirits and minds. Food they took from us. They took our water. Clean air they took, and freedom too. But while we continue to care for and protect each other, the whole city is still armed. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Teresa. It's kind of an extraordinary evening to begin the poetry reading with Doug Rawlings, who is one of the folks that started Veterans for Peace and was the first poet laureate, and then to be followed by Teresa May Chuck, whose father was imprisoned following the success of the people of Vietnam. Our next poet is another poet laureate, and it really is quite wonderful to introduce you all to Jan Berry, who also was a poet laureate, and Jan Berry, who was one of the founders of Vietnam Veterans Against the War many years ago. Welcome.
All right, Jack.
I'm glad that things seem to be running late because it took me an hour to figure out how to get online. I'm here. I made it. I want to read a couple of poems from my newest book. I don't know what it's going to show backwards or forwards. It's called Waging Peace from Vietnam to Volgograd. It's got poetry and artwork and stories about the various vets who I've interacted with since 1967, starting in VBAW, working for peace. And I have a couple of poems I'd like to read from the book. One of them has to do with the peace walk that took place last year. Veterans for Peace's Peace Walk 2024 from Maine to Washington, D.C. came to our town in June. How could it miss us? We're just off the George Washington Bridge. So we worked out a plan for where they should walk when they trooped off the bridge into Fort Lee and onward into Jersey. There's the historic route that George Washington's troops took in 1776 to evade British troops, tramping to a bridge in Teaneck to get to the other side of the Meadowlands to do a quick time retreat across Jersey to winter refuge in Pennsylvania. That route is now a tangle of side streets. traffic lights, stop signs, missing sidewalks. Then there's the modern highway system that features 12 lanes of traffic jams connected to the New Jersey Turnpike. Well, it gets complicated to get around this area some days. On the appointed day, the handful of hardy through marchers were joined by an exuberant band of a couple dozen local peace activists, and the Veterans for Peace flag and the ceasefire banner were passed on, unfurled to wave to passers-by from sidewalks along the bustling main streets of 3 suburban towns to convey a modern-day rebellion against colonial wars. The other poem goes back a number of years. It's called Karma. There's a reference to my uncle who died in World War II. Uncle Ted was a journalist and trumpet player whose art died in a dive bomber. I fled artsy stuff to become a soldier. Vietnam turned me into a poet. When nothing's worth a damn anymore and days become a daze without end, fragments of Nam pop out of my skin. Earth songs, challenging war. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Jan. Do you have another poem?
Come on.
I think
Never find myself way back. I have a number of what I call peace poems in the back of this new book, so they convey a number of different things. But the very last one, again, is from a while ago. Go in peace. Rise and plant every battlefield with flowers, grass, grain, grapes, forests of fruitful trees. Bury hatred of others in each hole with each seed of peace. Share the bounty of the earth. Is that so much harder to manage than waging war?
Thank you, Jan.
Thank you all. We have one video to show you from last year, Strong Buffalo, who did an extraordinary music to his poetry and scenic video. And then we have a couple of more poets. So bear with us. Stay with us. They're quite wonderful.
Hang on one sec, folks.
Mia Tatanka. I am the buffalo that was the spirit chief that led the Dakota up from the underworld. I am Tatanka, the buffalo that gave all of himself so he could live up here on the earth. I am Tatanka, the protector of women and children. I am Tatanka, the buffalo that was killed by the millions and left to rot on the plains. I am Tatanka, the buffalo who was on the coin, spent his spare change. I was Tatanka, the chief, who met the Washichus first. And I am Tatanka. There was that lost orphan boy who found his people and wears his uncle's name. Tatanka Oitika. Sisituan, Wapetuan, Akichita. Buffalo. So brave, so much that he's strong. He'll leave you with a message. In these days, right here, right now, all of us who are alive, we need to bond with each other to heal ourselves. work with each other, to love our families and our friends, and to save this world that was given to us all. So I'm going to sing you this song to help you heal, to help you belong on earth. I call it Wiping the Tears. Hey, hey, oh, hey, hey, oh, hey, hey, oh, hey. Watching Choshoki, Teato, Auvel. If you're proud of who you are, you should be out here dancing around in the circle of life. Hey, oh, hey, hey, oh, hey, hey, oh, hey, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, hey, oh, hey.
We're coming back to our live poetry session. There's a few more poets we want to hear from. Kara.
Yeah, Kara.
Everyone take one of these and pass them around.
Kara, who is,
Yeah, I just gotta pull up the.
oh, come, please. The president of the Tucson chapter. And I have to, right, and just completed the desert walk. How many miles, Kara?
75 miles.
75 miles walking
Can you guys,
through.
just a second here, I wanna get you a little better for our people.
It's wait.
Helping to bring light to the immigrant problems here in Tucson.
Mike, please.
Yeah, use the mic.
Oh, sorry, Kara. Tell me what I'm taking.
Here you go. Here's the mic. Here you go. Talk right into that.
Okay. I'm gonna turn this over to Karen in a minute, but how many miles?
It was 75 miles.
75 miles through the desert, and the purpose of the walk?
Was to shed light on the migrants that are crossing the border, trying to have a better life here in the United States. There was a lot of support that's gone on for 22 years. This is the 22nd year that it's gone on. They go from Sassabee, Arizona, back to Tucson. It's over 6 days. We started on a Monday and we wound up on the following Sunday.
Thank you. I'm gonna give you the microphone.
It's quite an accomplishment for anybody to do that, and Karen did it.
Thank you. So we're 42 this year.
I want to just move you over here so that you're not getting the projector shining on your face.
Karen,
So
how
we
old
can
are
see
you?
your face.
How old are you?
I'm 77.
77 years old, ladies and gentlemen.
Do you have the music?
I have the music. I'm just trying to do. No, I just adjusted for where you are. Just stay right there. That's good.
Okay.
All right. Now, so hold on. I'm gonna share this. Okay, let's see what happens here. Hang on. Okay. Let's see. Is that coming through? Don't think it's coming through.
Karen, can you speak up loud
Yeah.
without the microphone?
Yeah, right.
Can you try without the microphone?
Well, it has to go across the internet.
Oh, that's what we're
There we go.
going.
Is that what you?
Okay, yes, that's
So I'm gonna
one.
go back to the beginning here.
Do you want to start with that one?
That's the one I got up. Is that all right?
Okay, this first song is a really lively song. For Veterans for Peace, it might be showing a little bit of our violent nature. I hope not. I hope it just shows the positive force of good that we all share to have a peaceful world. And you can all sing along with the music that's there. It's called Mechanical of the Turning. A lot of you probably have already been with it. It's not mine. It's just something I thought would be really good for our conference.
My soul cries out with a joyful shout, that the God of my heart is great.
And my spirit sings of the wondrous things that you bring to the ones who wait. You fix your sight on the servant's butt, in my weakness you did not spurn. So east to west shall we be blessed with the world you're about to turn. My heart shall sing of the day you bring, and the fires of the justice burn. Wipe away all tears, for the dawn draws near, and the world is about to turn. Though I am small, my God, my all, you work great things in me. And your mercy will last from the past of the past to the end of the age to be. Your very name puts a bound to shame, and to those who know you yearn. You will show your might when you're strong to fight, for the world is about to turn. My heart shall sing of the day you bring, and the fires of your justice burn. Wipe away your tears, for the dawn draws near, and the world is about to turn. From the halls of power in the fortress tower, not a stone will be left on stone. Let the kings beware, for your justice tears every tyrant from his throne. The hungry poor shall weep no more for the food they can never earn. There are tables spread, every mouth be fed, for the world is about to turn. My heart shall sing of the day you break, when the fires of your justice burn. Wipe away all tears, for it all draws near, and the world is about to turn. The nations rage from age to age, remember who holds us fast. God's mercy must deliver us from the conqueror's crushing grasp. This saving word that hold us earth, the promises hold us bound. Till the spirit and rock can be crushed by God, who is turning the world around. My heart shall sing of the day you bring, when the fires of your justice burn. Wipe away all tears, for the dawn draws near, and the world is about to turn. Wipe away all tears, for the dawn draws near, and the world is about to turn.
The next two pieces, both from Alice Ritter, former wife who passed on about 3 months ago now.
Presented. All right, presented.
The first is a poem that she wrote when she was a senior in high school, and called Clouds. And it's significant also because she has a Peace Partner Award that she herself gave for 20 years.
Still going.
And this was the 21st year. She challenged me and other people like Pete to continue it on. And we had the first one without her this year, her legacy. And the Clouds that she wrote is, did you ever watch the fleecy clouds in the background of the sky, floating as they casually pass, and wonder how they got so high? I'd like to touch them, wouldn't you? They look so soft and white. But all too soon, it always seems, they vanish wholly out of sight. When I die, I'll be up there, maybe, riding on mine someday. Then I will stop and let you see just how clouds can get that way.
Yes.
And the next has been, I think, maybe in the poems and songs last year's conference through Zoom, but
Is this another audio track? Is this the other audio track?
Yes,
Okay, I'm ready.
and you're welcome to sing along with it. My voice, as you just heard, is not that great.
Neither's mine.
Okay, you can unmute.
Where all come together at last in peace. One world where the threat of all wars forever cease. One world where the threat of all wars fade. One world where no love what kind of world will we pass to the children if we don't model all the best it can be? Each one of us is part of the one world family, in spite of differences between you and me. Will you reach out your hand and take my hand firmly? Together we can, together we will bring peace to our one world.
Kara.
I just want to,
You got
before
it.
you,
Yes.
you have to disentangle. Let go. Wait, Kara. Sorry.
Thank you, Kara.
Thank you, darling.
Sorry, guys. You can hear me though. Hassan
I'm
Clemens.
just saying, ditch that mic, man, you're not
I
doing
am.
all that.
You got it.
Stand
Anna,
back
come
from
on,
the camera.
Hey, peace and love. Hey, peace and love, everyone. Hey, I just, Doug Rollins, I saw Doug Rollins do that last poem in Chicago. And Doug, I really appreciate you. That poem has haunted me. You gave the background of it. I thank you. And Teresa, I live in Tucson, Arizona, so that oppression that you feel in LA is right there in Tucson, just like that. I appreciate you. This poem that I'm going to read, it's dedicated to chapter 13, especially my sensei, Bob Phillips. He's transitioned, I present it.
I'm sorry, but the people on Zoom aren't going to hear you unless you.
Okay. Yeah, so this is for Bob Phillips. He's my sensei. He was a sergeant in Vietnam, and he was the guy, he called them FNGs, fucking new guys. When those 17 and 18-year-old recruits came to Vietnam, he was the one who schooled them, and he was escorting the alleged enemy Viet Cong to those camps that Teresa's father was in. And Bob wrote a Facebook post as he was going to Tortolino, Texas to protest that camp that they had there. So this poem is called Abu Ghraib, Father of Strangers, Abu Ghraib Prison, Iraq. Innocent children, sacrifice, boys and girls, kidnapped, tortured, on a leash, raped, unsafe in schools, shot down, bombed, war. For whose benefit? Again and again and again, the world watches. Innocent children sacrifice on the altar of greed. Iraq, Sudan, Rwanda, Palestine, here in us, America, it's the same, maybe just a slower death. The 18 and 19-year-old soldiers, our children shot down and left to die in the streets, the babies with no health care, graves filled with children. Abu Ghraibs all over the world. Innocent children, sacrifice, boys and girls, kidnapped, tortured, on a leash, raped, unsafe in schools, shot down, bombed, war. For whose benefit? Again and again and again, the world watches. Innocent children sacrifice on the altar of greed. For whose benefit? Thank you.
Wow.
This one is dedicated to chapter 13. Back in 2013, I was doing counter recruitment in high schools. I'm not a veteran. I'm an associate member. But I called on Pete and Cara and Bob and Alice and Adrian. I called on the Veterans for Peace to come, and they responded, and we worked in a couple years educating children and educating administrators and school teachers. And so, and this is also for one of my heroes, E.E. Cummings. Words, no more war. Now what? and the black rain, the sting, the wounds. The wounds from words run deep as the uncontrolled rages from my breast. Boomerang style, words go forth, biting the universe in half. The half of the universe I inhabit is as far from yours as heaven from hell. Somehow we must disarm, surrender. The flames are fanned into a blaze. Our feet dance on hot coals, war dance. And in the war, no one is safe. No one wins. The chasm between universes will not be bridged in time of war. Fighting for freedom is dead, done. The chasm between universes will not be bridged in time of war. Fighting for freedom is dead, done. Words, no more war. Now what?
No more war.
Wow. Thank you, our next poet is somebody I think most of you know, and John Spitzberg, come on up here. The last time we saw you was on the steps of the Capitol building. John.
Eric, make way. Eric, give him some room to get through.
Thank you.
I'll hold
Do I have
this.
to? Can you hold that?
I can hold it.
For about 5 years, poets from the Veterans for Peace performed at every convention. And in the year 2018, the poetry soiree was dedicated to a man that many of you know. His name was Jay Wenck, and he was a very famous veteran for peace, and he came from World War II as a combat veteran. And he wrote a poem that, don't worry, I'm fine. He wrote a poem by called, for which he won the past poet laureate first prize in the 2017 Heroes Voice National Poetry Contest. And if you remember it, I'd like, or don't remember it, I'd like to read it to you. Gregory, nicknamed Raj, from Bangor, Maine, a vet of Iraq, hooked up a vacuum cleaner hose to his car's exhaust. These are today's dead veterans. There were others yesterday. Living alone in a fifth floor walk-up on East 111th Street in New York, Antoine raised and flew pigeons from his rooftop chicken wire and slated from cage. As he plunged into the backyard, he took out several clotheslines. There was Irv, Helen, George, Harold, Renee, and Harry. Harold was gay, was called Roxy among his friends, and he used a knife. Frenchie never made it to the post office. That's where he told his wife that he was going. He drove head-on into the side of a concrete bridge, abutment, on Route 66 in Arizona at 120 miles per hour. It was a clear, bright morning. A Lieutenant Carbondaro took his .45 along on a hunting trip upstate in North Dakota. The medic who used to shoot up prisoners with morphine, Carlos, saved up enough for himself. He injected it while on leave in Germany. Angel, a guard at our prison camp in the desert, was a huge, smiling man, very friendly. After discharge, he got a job as a warden in a state prison near Biloxi. He hung himself in his second-hand RV, parked in a shady cottonwood grove. There was Rudy, James, and Eduardo, living in ghetto flops in several different cities. They combined booze and pills. Ruben's father was an Air Force officer, so Ruben was born into it. Everyone called him, "Hey, Rube." When off duty from guiding armed drones, he loved to go up with the paratroopers. On a flight yesterday, he pushed his way past the jump master. And then there was Bonnie, Vera, Ellie, and Chris. Chris was trained to defuse mines. Last evening on patrol, he jumped on one in plain sight. The taxi driver who took Vera to Chicago's railroad yard reported that she was drunk. During the night, Juan in Nevada and Eugene in Colorado both walked out onto their respective deserts, stripped in spite of bitter cold, lay down, cut their wrists, and died looking up at the full moon. There'll be 22 more tomorrow. Jay Wenck was a combat infantry veteran during World War II. He was a cabinet maker, a small town politician, and loved to laugh. Especially at himself. He wrote poetry for VFP consistently, and now is honored due to his writing poems, which is presented here. Thank you. Thank you.
And as we move into the future, we have a very special poet and singer who was with us the last 2 years, I believe, and it really is quite wonderful to introduce you all to Ruby Shirley. Ruby, come on.
Hi, my name is Ruby Shirley, and I will read a poem called If I Must Die. It was written by a man named...
Louder. Closer to your mouth.
It was written by a man named Rafat Al-Amir. He was a teacher and a writer from Palestine who helped many young people find their voice. He was killed in an airstrike along with members of his family. Before he died, he wrote this poem. In the poem, he imagines a child in Gaza looking up at the sky and seeing a kite, thinking it might be an angel. Children have to face war in many places and times, like Anne Frank, who also wrote during war and didn't get to grow up. This poem is about love, memory, and hope, even in the middle of pain. This is the poem.
hold the mic just a little bit closer.
Yes, please.
If I must die, you must live. To tell my story, to sell my things. To buy a piece of cloth and some strings. Make it white with a long tail. So that a child, somewhere in Gaza, while looking heaven in the eye, awaiting his dad, who left in a blaze, and bid no one farewell, not even to his flesh, not even to himself, sees the kite, my kite, you made, flying up above, and thinks for a moment an angel is there, bringing back love. If I must die, let it bring hope. If I must die, let it be a tale.
Ruby Shirley, thank you so much. And folks, I believe that concludes our. Oh, sorry. Oh my goodness. Absolutely. James Yee, and I just would like to say a couple words about James. Some of you may remember James Yee was a chaplain on Guantanamo. He was in prison in isolation for how many months?
76 days.
For 76 days. When he left, he became a member of Veterans for Peace and has been a member for
10 years.
About 10 years. It is really quite wonderful and a pleasure to introduce you all to James Yee.
A little bit more about my background. Yes, I was a chaplain in the U.S. Army of the Islamic faith. I was one of the Army's first Muslim chaplains. And I served at Guantanamo Bay after 9/11, and I rose concerns about the treatment of prisoners at Guantanamo, for which I was imprisoned for, and then thrown into solitary confinement, secretly arrested.
My brother.
Faced with crimes of espionage, spying, aiding the enemy, sedition, threatened with the death penalty. All charges were dropped, and then I was put back. I was sent back to duty at Fort Lewis, after which I resigned my commission and got an honorable discharge. So I wrote this poem about my experience. I went to the Army, I went to war. What the hell did I do that for? Mama, mama, can't you see what the Army's done to me? They took away my faded jeans. Now I got my M16. It sounded like a good idea. Get a free education. Mine was the West Point indoctrination. Duty, honor country. Yes, those things matter to me. Join the Army and be all that you can be. The TV commercial said, we do more before 9 a.m. than most people do all day. The cadet honor code. A cadet will not lie, cheat, or steal, nor tolerate those who do. But as a U.S. military soldier, can that really be you? Yes, sir, no, sir, just following the orders. Deploy to lands where there really are no borders. You learn to fight. You learn to fire. And staying alive becomes your only desire. Stay alert. Stay alive. If you want to come home, if you want to survive. I made it back, though it didn't go well. My return was by way of solitary confinement in a secret jail cell. It was because I didn't stay silent. Too many truths to tell about how the prison camp at Guantanamo was a living hell. Operation Enduring Freedom. They assigned me to Gitmo, and they said, you'll be just fine. But I couldn't look away during my time, so I kept a journal log and reported the war crimes. They said, we're fighting terrorists now. Lions and tigers and bears, oh my. And the president said, Geneva Conventions just doesn't apply. Taken away, they locked me up and said, you're one of them, aiding the terrorist enemy, wanting to create mayhem. They labeled me a Chinese Taliban. then get me with the death penalty. That was their plan. But it didn't work. It was total bullshit on a hook. Especially when all the charges were dropped and the honorable discharge I took. So I became the Army officer who authored the book, For God and Country, Faith and Patriotism Under Fire. And exposed what really went on at Guantanamo inside the wire. Mama, mama, can't you see what the Army's done to me? Mama, mama, can't you see what the Army's done to me? I put back on my faded jeans and threw away my M16. I put back on my faded jeans and threw away my M16. I'm now a veteran for peace. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so this was a response to Ruby's poem. Follow-up to.
Oh, you come. You have
Come
to
up
come
here, so the folks in TV land can see you. But first, two Muslims speaking in a row in a crowd this size, that's a pretty big deal. So, thank you. So, a year ago for Mother's Day at a Palestinian, or Families for Palestinian Justice event, I read a poem in response to the poem that Ruby just read. The poet wrote that in 2011 and posted on a blog. At 2014, he read it for the death of his family members, and then he died in 2023. So, the family event, as all of the Muslim sisters in my family are looking at our children running around and thinking, we live in Bellingham, not in Palestine, so we get to watch them run around today. I read this poem, 7 Million Breaths. I wrote something yesterday when I could no longer stand the sound of blasts, footsteps, and silence. I wrote something last month because it never stops, the wondering when and if, is it my time to be martyred? I wrote something last year. It's in my collection of poems that I might share someday when this is over. It's been 3 years since I wrote this for him, but today I read it for you, my family and friends, who no longer wonder. It's been a decade, but only the hair on my head and the height that you've grown, and the tears that we have dropped show any change. It's been more time, always more nights passing, but less bombs never drop, or fewer raids and lost children. Every moment is the same. Each time you draw a breath, I hope that I'll be here when you exhale. Every moment is the same. I hold you close, love you more, and live to the fullest until the time comes for me to be martyred. It waited for 7 million breaths, except for the ones that I held in fear for you.
Thank you.
Dan Shea is going to, okay.
I need to put my little glasses on so I can read it.
I've got, right.
Let me get this up here. Okay, this is a poem that I wrote in July of 2020, and it is a tribute to George Floyd. And I kind of want a response from you. I'm going to say, you know, when he was being choked, he said, "I can't breathe." Right. It was 9 minutes and 29 seconds. And I'm going to repeat that, and I want you to say, "I can't breathe." I can't breathe. People tell me I shouldn't speak of the struggles in the street in terms of war, battles, and battlefields. But isn't that what it is? 9 minutes, 29 seconds. I can't breathe. How can anyone think that the police patrolling the streets, ambushing black lives with fatal results, isn't a war on black lives? What else would you call it? 9 minutes and 29 seconds.
I can't breathe.
I can't breathe.
When protesters are met with military tactics, dressed for war, with body armor, helmets, shields, and armed to the teeth with impunity, 9 minutes and 29 seconds.
I can't breathe.
I can't breathe.
What do you call it when these enforcers wield clubs, shoot tear gas, pepper spray, flashbang grenades, and fire rubber bullets into crowds indiscriminately, seriously injuring citizens that they were sworn to protect? 9 minutes and 29 seconds.
I can't breathe.
I call it a war unapologetically. When the military considers sending troops armed with bayonets to Black Lives Matter protests in Washington, D.C. 9 minutes and 29 seconds.
I can't breathe.
Let's not shy from calling it war a war. We are in a class war, a war on the poor, a war on people of color, a war that is targeting black and brown lives. 9 minutes and 29 seconds.
I can't breathe.
It is a battle of ideas for the hearts and minds of souls of citizens of the world to abolish oppression and the systems that maintain it. 9 minutes and 29 seconds.
I can't breathe.
We must defend our rights and fill our lungs with the sweet breath of freedom, liberty, and justice for all, because Black lives matter. Palestinian lives matter. Immigrant lives matter. 9 minutes and 29 seconds.
I can't breathe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Is there anybody else who would like to read a poem?
Susan, I want to read a poem
I've got.
online.
Who's that?
It's Steve Morrissey. It's God.
Hey, God, you can hear you.
Go out like this.
Susan,
Okay.
Go ahead. Go with the flow.
Is there somebody online?
virtually.
yes,
Yes.
yes,
Someone virtually.
yes, Susan.
Oh, what, you're gonna read a poem to me, what?
Okay, all right.
Morris, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. This poem is called, I wrote a couple years ago, it's called Climate, and it's spelled capital C-L-I-M-B, capital I-T, exclamation point. A huge mountain before us. Could we climb it? Can we face the crisis of our climate? Though the mountain seems impassable, the project feels impossible. Imagine that we could climb it. In our lives and work, we've known cooperation that we need between people and among all nations, inspiration and preparation to scale that mighty peak. Work for change alone, you won't succeed. Millions pulling together is what we need to climb past the ridges of war and greed as we scale that mighty peak. A huge mountain in our way, we must climb it and face the crisis of our climate. Though the mountain seems impassable, the project feels impossible. What choice is there but to climb it? Droughts, fires, flood, and sweltering heat, so many challenges that we meet, exhaustion, hunger, and blistered feet, yet we will scale that mighty peak. Onward, adelante, allons-y. Sharing a healthy planet, it will be a better life for you and me once we scale that mighty peak. A huge mountain before us, we will climb it as we engage the crisis of our climate. Though the mountain seems impassable,
the project felt impossible, we make the decision to climb it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, folks, anybody else with a poem? Something to read, something to say? Thank you. Okay, we will be, yes, we have one more
want to hear
poem.
about the Freedom Train?
Come up here where the people online can see you.
Okay, I'll come up here and tell you about the Freedom Train. Is it okay? Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Go for it.
Go.
What's your name?
My name is Kem Hunter, and
I'm gonna get this, just
yeah,
one
if you hold it
second.
for me. I had the honor of being a speaker at a Juneteenth celebration recently, last month, and I wanted to speak an upbeat message in a downbeat time. And I had this idea of a freedom train, and I did some research, and lo and behold, there was a real freedom train, and there was a poem about the freedom train after World War II, written by the noted poet Langston Hughes. I would like to share that with you. In September 1947, a freedom train rolled out of the station at Philadelphia, site of the Constitutional Convention, where our democracy was born. The Freedom Train project was inspired by the victory of freedom over tyranny in the Second World War and powered by the prayer that war would never plague our planet again. This Freedom Train displayed over 100 documents of our national archives that told the story of our nation's journey to freedom, including the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the Emancipation Proclamation signed by President Lincoln in 1863. Over the next year and a half, the Freedom Train traveled to all 48 states, visiting over 300 cities, to give the American people a chance to see the actual pages and read the actual words that documented our nation's journey to justice. But in 1947, much of the United States was still a segregated society. In the Deep South, all institutions were separated by race, schools, public transportation, even restaurants and hotels. When Langston Hughes, a gifted writer, philosopher, and voice of conscience for the African American people, heard about the Freedom Train project, he was skeptical. American people, he wrote a poem called Freedom Train, asking what it meant for such a train to be traveling to places where Black Americans still suffered under the yoke of Jim Crow regulations designed to keep Black people poor, segregated, and disenfranchised. In his poem, Langston Hughes prayed that the Freedom Train would really be free for all to see. He invoked the memory of his cousin Jimmy, who died in Europe fighting for freedoms that were denied to him at home. American soldiers were still segregated by race in World War II, and Black soldiers who fought for freedom in foreign lands returned to a still segregated society. But death ended Jimmy's segregation. Jimmy was buried side by side with 9,000 others of all races and creeds who died in that war in a cemetery in Anzio, Italy. Referring to those who were buried there, Langston Hughes finished his poem with the following stirring words. Then, maybe from their graves in Anzio, the GIs who fought will say, we wanted it so. Black men and white men will say, ain't it fine? At home they got a train that's yours and mine. Then I'll shout, glory for the Freedom Train. I'll holler, blow your whistle, Freedom Train. Thank God Almighty, here's the Freedom Train. Get on board our Freedom Train. His poem created quite a stir and even caught the attention of the highest offices in the land. President Harry Truman himself decreed that at every stop of the Freedom Train, visitors could not be segregated by race, local laws and customs notwithstanding. Almost every city agreed to comply. Only 2 cities stood their ground. Birmingham, Alabama, which insisted only white people could see the Freedom Train documents, and Memphis, Tennessee, which agreed to allow Black people to view the documents, but only at a separate time from white people. President Truman stood his ground too. Per his decree, the Freedom Train did not stop at Birmingham or Memphis that year. The folks who objected to integrating the Freedom Train were oblivious to the cruel irony that they would not allow black people to stand next to white people, even to view the Emancipation Proclamation, the very document that set their ancestors free. What? But for the rest of the country, the Freedom Train was free for all to see, and see at the same time, no matter the color of their skin. In January 1949, the Freedom Train pulled into the station in our nation's capital at the end of its ride, just in time for President Truman's inauguration to the second term. President Truman, who had once been a white supremacist himself, had signed an executive order to abolish segregation by race in the United States military forces just 6 months before. A huge milestone towards desegregating our society. Dr. Martin Luther King was right. The arc of moral universe does indeed bend towards justice, one small push at a time. Sometimes, all it takes is a powerful poem. What we need now is another Freedom Train to address the turmoil we face today as we see that some of the freedoms we fought for and won are again under threat. Only in this day and age, we can make it a virtual train, so there will be plenty of room for everyone who wants to ride. No matter the color of your skin, there's a seat for you on this Freedom Train. No matter your religion, or even if you have no religion, there's a seat for you on this Freedom Train. No matter your age, your sex, your physical challenges, or your sexual identity, there's a seat for you on this Freedom Train. You won't have to pay to ride the Freedom Train. The Freedom Train is free. All you need to ride this Freedom Train is a belief that when we pledge allegiance to a nation with liberty and justice for all, that really does mean liberty and justice for all of the American people, not just a privileged class. And if you believe that, then it also follows that you embrace certain core human values that define what it means to be truly free. The right to love who you want to love, the right to live the life of the person you know you really are, and the right to learn the true history of your country and your people. The ride on our Freedom Train will not always be easy, and the destination may be far. There will be more hills to climb, there will be more bridges to build, there will be more rivers to cross, and some will try to block our way, or even send us back. We need to stand together in solidarity and tell those folks that our Freedom Train does not stand still, and it does not go backwards, because our Freedom Train is making history, and history does not stand still, and history does not go backwards. Our Freedom Train only goes forward, because it is full of we the people traveling together towards that more perfect union with liberty and justice for everybody. So let's take Langston Hughes' advice. Let's get on board our Freedom Train. Get on board.
Are you going to print all of these out, and can that be included? So
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, everything is being recorded.
Okay.
Everything. And thank you very much to Ellen Davidson and John Escobar. Okay, folks, anybody else have a poem? Or are we? Oh. Yes? Gotta come up front. You did, yes. Okay. Go ahead. You got it. Okay. Thank you.
This is Ode to Them Never Talked About. Framed portrait in an upstairs bedroom. My sister, a guest, asks about the person. Aging parents lament a son, Eugene, MIA. The mother always looking, never knowing. Brule to Buna, a fortress plunge into the sea. Fate discovered in the search that never was. Another conclusion, and no one left to share it. Arthur Jack, most affectionately known as Artie, flat-topped, cute California boy, 7 months of 1968 filled with departures, leaving the teens, leaving the country, and then this life. Only child of a man who survived Bataan and you. Flat granite engraving, panel West 40, line 18. Eugene, no longer MIA, was an uncle. Father Dan, World War II Army chaplain, survives 28 months of China, Burma, India, succumbs Iowa Country Road, dark summer, no last rites, and just shy of 50. Years later, a by-chance encounter, your student and pallbearer, now elderly, the man brought fresh memories alive. 4 generations back, Patrick, an Irish rifle, Civil War casualty that never quite mended, black sheep abandoned twice by migration, newspaperman, lawyer, and postmaster, whose gilded age was not so gilded. A writer bequeaths your estranged legacy to us, the offshoots of the Tracy Party. He wasn't quite right, the maternal side said. Sievert, a Norwegian farmer who never married, baby survivor of motherless childhood, ready doughboys for departure from the 1918 influenza epicenter. Later sought refuge across the state, his home one for disabled veterans. Uncle Pat, Army Air Corps, sailed out of New York, en route contracted meningitis, a coffin readied for burial at sea, instead a fate of a faraway convalescence, later to experience unspeakable loss, but also gain. Rest in peace, man of dry humor, in a national cemetery, along with your wife and 3 brothers-in-law. About those brothers-in-law, now there's a story. John typing letters from a Great Lakes storeroom, using the GI Bill and getting excommunicated. Buck cruising the East Coast, discovering pizza. Kids dressing up in discarded navy blues. Joe jumping out of planes in Japan and the Philippines, finding Carol and a man on the moon. 10 generations, and as far back as we know, Marianne found 2 relatives in England. Tom possibly repelling armadas, and James soldiering in Ireland around Cromwell's time. The latter a settler working for landowners. A great-great-grandmother marries in, adding a dash of Catholicism. Iron-fisted Catherine deserves mention. Early territorial resident, little sister of the Irish Rifle and of 2 others at Vicksburg, 1 Confederate. Story goes the gray uniform was dyed upon return. Her husband, also Civil War, went to North Dakota to fight Indians. Please, please, no massacres. John of the John C's gets a 1A classification, deferred by reason of occupation essential to the World War I effort. He was a railroad man. A few years later, on his new wife's side, young Michael volunteers for the IRA, partakes in a war for independence, the truce period, and part of a civil war. He is ambushed. Never thought of the family as military, except for Clifford and his sons, far away, far removed Navy, until the aforementioned people came to life, because no one ever talked about it or them. Learning from the past, tracing generational trauma and loss, trying to build a different future.
Okay. Anybody else want to read? There's okay.
You're the last one, right?
Hey everybody, it's great to see you all. Don Kimball, host of Friendly Fire and a member of number of 3 chapters. I'd like to read something real quick. This is Kurt Vonnegut.
the author of Slaughterhouse-Five. He withdrew from college in 1943 to join the United States Army. He was captured in the Battle of the Bulge. He was interned in Dresden, where he survived the Allied bombing of the city. He died in 2007. His last book, A Man Without a Country, there's a poem at the end, very, very brief poem, Requiem. When the last living thing has died on account of us, how poetical it would be if the earth could say in a voice floating up perhaps from the floor of the Grand Canyon, "It is done." People did not like it here.